Just 8 years after its opening, the Circuit of the Americas in Austin, Texas has played host to both domestic and worldwide racing championships, including the Formula One United States Grand Prix. Tonight, this high-speed, challenging track features the world's longest-running single-mark motorsport championship, and better yet, one that bears the iconic name Ferrari. Welcome to the first of 4 races this weekend that make up round 4 of the 2020 season of Ferrari Challenge North America. Hello everyone, I'm Bob Varsha. This marks the beginning of the second half of the season in Austin, with races still to come at WeatherTech Raceway Laguna Seca in California and Sebring, Florida, before all of the Ferrari Challenge series around the world, North America, Europe, Asia Pacific, and the United Kingdom gather in Abu Dhabi in the United Arab Emirates for the World Finals, the Finale Mondiale, to crown the champions in November. Now this weekend, we're in Austin, Texas, a fascinating destination city, home of the University of Texas, live music capital of the world, and a foodie's paradise, quite frankly. It is simply a great place to visit, and that's a part of the Ferrari Challenge concept. Take the racers to great tracks at great places. Now the track itself, 3.427 miles around, 20 corners, 12 left, 8 right, and some of those corners are designed to emulate some of the great corners at racetracks around the world. We'll talk more about that as we go forward. The track was designed by Formula One track designer Tilke and Associates from Germany, and it is absolutely spectacular. Now, after qualifying under the searing late summer Texas sun, the drivers will take to this awesome circuit in the relative cool of the evening. That is, if you consider just under 100 degrees to be cooler. There you see the numbers in Celsius, 37 degrees, 100 Fahrenheit. Folks, it is hot here, even as the sun sets. Right now, let's get down to the nuts and bolts of getting around this racetrack. And rather than me telling you about it, let's take a hot lap with Coppa Shell driver Brad Horstman.
Hi, I'm Brad Horstman, driver of the 105 Foreign Cars Italia Ferrari 488 Challenge Evo car, and I'm going to take you for a lap around the Circuit of the Americas. So here we are at Circuit of the Americas, coming out of turn 19, setting up for turn 20. Turn 20 is the last turn that we will hit before we hit the front stretch and ultimately the start-finish line. The tower is a good bit down the front stretch here. As we approach the first turn, we want to use that steep hill that you see in front of you to use that compression and really slow the car down. We can push the braking zone pretty deep here. Turn 1 is one of the slower speed corners that we'll hit on the circuit. It's a third gear corner. We've got past that guy. So we want to hustle the car back to the left there, and as we're coming through 2, we want to try to keep it tight to the right, but we are full throttle here, setting up for a really complex turn of 3 through 6. It's a left-right complex. You really want to make sure you stay ahead of the car. It's very difficult, but if you get it right, it's very quick. Going through 6 here, you want to keep the car a little bit to the right there, maybe a little bit more than I did. Going through 7 and setting up for 8. 8's unique. You really want to straddle the curbing there. Keep the right sides just to the right of the red and white gator. And that's a quick left back to the left on turn 9. Turn 10 down also to the left, all the way down to turn 11 is flat. It's a very high speed area. It's a good passing zone here going into 11. 11 is important because it sets us up for the longest straightaway on the track. In fact, it's one of the longest straightaways I think, again, we hit on many of the tracks we visit. You want to make sure that you get that exit really right because it is such a long straightaway. You're going to carry a lot of speed here. In fact, we're going to pull 7th gear here towards the end of this straightaway. This is a good time to check all your gauges, relax a little bit, remember to breathe, and then get ready to find your braking zone to set up for turn 12. 12 has got a little bit of a dip there. You might have noticed it. You want to hustle back to the left to set up for 13, 14. Despite it being 2 turns, it's really almost a constant radius turn here, as you see. Patience is key. Setting up for 15, another sharp corner left. Patience again is the name of the game in 15 to set up for 16, 17, 18. Another long high-speed right-hander. A lot of throttle modulation. We're in 5th gear going through this corner. It's high speed. The car's wanting to push left. You got to resist it and get back to the right to set up for 19. 19's a nice high-speed corner. You want to straddle that gator right there in the center of the apex. Let the car drift out a little bit, but not too much. And then again, set up for turn 20. This is again another important turn on the circuit. It sets us up for the front stretch and the race back to the start-finish line. Again, here you're checking your mirrors, checking gauges, and that's a lap at COTA.
That's a great job, and you could tell from that camera on Brad Horseman's face that as soon as he got across the finish line, he relaxed. Great job. Now as the field takes to the starting grid, let's get down there and hear from our pit reporter for the evening's festivities. Here's Heather DeBow.
Thanks, Bob. As you can see, the drivers are still getting gridded up here on the grid, but we've talked about how some of these drivers are fresh faces with very little experience here in the Ferrari Challenge, one being the 104 Foreign Cars of Italia entry of Bubba Roof. I got a chance to talk to him earlier today. He only had 2 starts at Indy, and he told me it's all about seat time. So let's see what else he had to say about racing here at the Circuit of Americas. Bubba Roof, you have 2 starts so far at Indy. This is only your 3rd time in the race car. How's your weekend going so far here at COTA of the Americas?
Weekend's going good. We're getting a little faster and can't wait to start the race.
So what specifically have you been working on to get faster? Any corner in particular that's giving you a challenge?
About all the corners. Trying to get more speed coming out of it.
Now tell us a little bit about your background. I see your hat says Sea Hunt Boats. What's that all about?
Yeah, we've been in business for 25 years and really love fishing and love Ferraris and love driving.
Now the Ferrari Challenge, you told me, is your first experience in the racing arena. So what do you think about moving up in the class and just gaining more experience?
Yeah, I did the 2 Corsa Pilotas last year and had the challenge car, and I really enjoyed driving it. My coaches have helped me a lot and the team's helped me a lot, and just the seat time and experience I just can't wait to get more of.
And then as far as your expectations for this weekend, what do you think would be a good weekend for you overall? What's your goal?
I'd love to be in the middle of the pack. If I could get to 10, that would be fantastic.
Well, thanks for your time and best of luck to you.
Thank you so much.
And Bubba Roof is learning quickly. He'll start 15th in tonight's race. Now, if you're not familiar with Ferrari Challenge North America, there are 4 classes based on experience and ability. They start with Coppa Shell Am, and then the next one up, Coppa Shell, up to Trofeo Pirelli Am, and the top class, Trofeo Pirelli, to balance out the entry in each race. And since Coppa Shell Am had by far the largest entry for this race, they will headline their own race, while the other 3 classes will join together, and we'll see them later on this evening. So we hope you'll stay with us for that. Headlights on the race cars. The sun just going down here in Austin, Texas, but a long evening in store. This has got to be a tremendous thrill, not only for the newcomers to Ferrari Challenge North America, but also to the veterans. It just never gets old to climb into these incredibly capable Ferrari 488 Challenge Evo race cars, turbocharged to 670 horsepower, using the engines, however, as well as the transmission, suspension bits, and nearly everything on the car right off the factory assembly line. Stripped down, interiors out for lightness, safety modifications added, but every car on the premises this weekend is identical to every other. This is a driver's championship. Nobody has a mechanical advantage over everyone else. Speed, experience, perhaps. But we are ready to go racing. And for that, once again, back to Heather for the most important words in motorsports.
Thank you, Bob. That's right. It's time to get things fired up. Drivers, start your Ferrari engines.
And as the engines fire, you had a good look there at our pole sitter for tonight's race, Michael Watt, and the colors of his favorite university on the planet, Clemson. And if the orange and purple highlights on that car weren't enough to convince you, there's a roaring, springing tiger on there. And the number on the door, number 150, commemorates the 15-0 undefeated season for his favorite college football team just a couple of years back. Lights are on the Hublot safety car, a fabulous Ferrari F8 Tributo. And I believe all the engines are fired. I see no signs of concern in the physical attitude of the crews as they leave the starting grid. And the drivers are left alone with their thoughts as they get ready for 30 minutes of racing around this amazing racetrack. It challenges the drivers in every way. High-speed corners, tight hairpins, lots of elevation change, some blind corners, some bumpy pavement. It really is a great all-around test of driver skill. And what a weapon to have at your disposal, the Ferrari 488 Challenge Evo. Looks like we're going to have a beautiful sunset. Not that any of these drivers will see it as they make their way through turn 1 at the top of what's called Phil Hill in honor of America's first Formula One champion in 1961. And here's our lineup for today's race. On the pole, as I mentioned, Michael Watt of Ferrari of Atlanta, next to Christopher Aiken of Ferrari of Houston. Row 2, Michael Kreckle of Ferrari of Beverly Hills and Kirk Berwald, his teammate. On row 3, Lance Cawley for Ferrari of Atlanta and John Lennon, Ferrari of San Francisco. Row 4, David Schmidt, Ferrari of Palm Beach, and Justin Wetherill, the points leader in class for Ferrari of Central Florida. On row 5, John Viscup in his first start for Boardwalk Ferrari, and Anthony DiCarlo for Wide World Ferrari. Row 6 is Dave Musial Jr. for Ferrari Lake Forest and Neil Langberg of Ferrari South Bay. Row 7, George Zachary for Ferrari Silicon Valley and Jesus Mendoza, Ferrari of San Francisco. Row 8, Bubba Roof for Foreign Cars Italia and Jan Bernier, Ferrari of Seattle. Row 9, Eileen Bildman for Ferrari of Long Island and Lisa Clark, our 2 female drivers. Lisa for Ferrari of Beverly Hills. Row 10, Ferrari of Denver's Todd Coleman. Cyril Choksi for Ferrari of Denver as well. And on row 11, by his lonesome, Charles Whittle, representing Ferrari of Central Florida. Because that's the way it works in Ferrari Challenge. The drivers acquire the cars and associate themselves with an authorized Ferrari dealer. And that's who they're representing at the racetrack. And you can have a number of teammates all representing that same dealer. The dealers have a championship of their own based on accumulated points during the course of a season. That's through turn 11. God, what gorgeous light at this time of day. After all the nasty things we've said about Texas weather all day long, here we have this glorious evening. Hot though it is. 0.62 miles, that long straightaway. It's neither straight nor is it level. All part of the fun here at Circuit of the Americas. Into turn 12. Very sharp left-hander, great overtaking spot. And a right-hander at turn 13. And then the drivers will turn into a collection of corners among giant grandstands, paying tribute to the stadium section at the Hockenheim circuit in Germany. That takes the drivers through turns 14, 15, and 16. And then one of my favorite parts of the racetrack, high speed, a multi-apex corner. Count them. 1, and another bend to the right. Apex 2. Yet another at apex 3. And then turn 18, the 4th apex. There's a corner just like that, turning left instead of right at Istanbul Park, former home of the Turkish Formula One Grand Prix, which is back on the schedule in this Formula One season. But right now it's all about Ferrari Challenge North America. The Hublot safety car lights will be extinguished. And these 21 drivers will have at it. This is turn 20. Drivers have been coached to line up side by side. No passing until you reach the start line. That is not the start line. That is the finish line across the track at the back of the grid painted on the track. Here comes the start line. The green flag waves and we are underway. And immediately, Mike Watt takes the preferred line into turn 1. And as you see, the cars spread out all across that wide entry. If you go to the far left side, that's fine, except you're going to encounter traffic at the apex and you have to come almost to a complete stop. Then down the hill they come, and then through this section of S's, right, left, similar to the Maggots-Beckett's Chapel complex at the Great Silverstone Circuit in Great Britain. Some of the cars still too wide. There's car 127, Lisa Clark, and that is an unmistakable livery. Zenith blue and tangerine, made famous by the Gulf oil colors on an extraordinary succession of successful race cars, including Ford's GT40s from the late 60s, Porsche's 917s, and so much more. Now, another wide entry to turn 11. Pick a line, any line. And onto the back straight, up over 160 miles an hour before the hard braking zone for turn 12 as Michael Watt heads toward the stadium section with a handy lead this early in the race. Michael Watt had asked at one point in his Ferrari Challenge career that he be put back a level, if you will. He wanted to race with a slightly less experienced class. Just didn't feel he was up to it, I guess. Now here he is doing well, and I know what you're thinking, but no. The level of sportsmanship in this series is so great, nobody would take a step back in order to have an advantage over the drivers in that class. Around they come to complete lap 1. Watt, Justin Wetherill, Christopher Aiken, and so on. You see the names on the left side of your screen as they jockey for position. Now we're being told that the start has been reviewed on suspicion of a jump start, and it appears that there will be a penalty. Trying to learn which car it is. Justin Wetherill. Oh my goodness. That has big implications in the championship. Justin Wetherill comes into the weekend first in Coppa Am with 4 wins coming in. Representing Ferrari of Central Florida. I believe that's in the Orlando market. Boy, these Ferrari Challenge cars brake beautifully. Brembo brakes, carbon ceramic on all the cars, great big discs. They often say about Formula One cars, even better than the way they accelerate is the way they stop. And that is the case with these Ferrari 488 Challenge Evos, using so much learned in Ferrari's long tenure in the World Championship. Racing technology for the street. So the word is there will be a 15-second time penalty for Justin Wetherill. Meanwhile, to pick up the action, there's Lance Cawley, car number 176 from my neck of the woods, Ferrari of Atlanta. Look at this bunch coming off the final corner. Oops, I'm getting very wide. If you take 4 wheels too far off the racetrack, you'll be warned. If you do it too often, you could wind up with a drive-through penalty, which, as you might imagine, in a 30-minute race could be critical to your chances of a great finish. Points are scored: 15 for first, 12 for second, 10 for third, and so on down through 8, 6, 4, 2, and 1. Every car entering the race gets a single point. The pole sitter, 1 bonus championship point, and the fast lap brings another point. And the way the championships have been going down in 3 of the 4 Ferrari Challenge classes, those points are critical. Justin Wetherell with just a 20-point lead over Dave Musial Jr., or Dave 2.0 as he's known. Christopher Aiken, another 10 points back. John Lennon, just 8 points further back. Todd Coleman, Michael Watt, still in the mix. With this weekend and 2 more double race weekends still to come. Lots of points still on the table. Battle for 7th. Anthony DiCarlo and Lance Cawley, with plenty of company just behind. Through turns 13 and 14. Oh, down the inside. Todd Coleman took a look in car 169. And now Cawley takes a look as those 3 run nose to tail. Meanwhile, up at the top of the hill, a variety of lines through turn 1, then plunging downhill. You need to get in line here. You can't go through these S's side by side. And if you're a little late on turn in, or if you choose the wrong line coming out, it's very hard to make up the time you're going to lose trying to compensate. Our 113 is Kirk Berwald. He's in his rookie season. Missed the first 2 rounds of the championship. Joined the series at Indianapolis Motor Speedway, the most recent round. Right behind is number 188, Michael Kreckle. He too in his rookie season. And Kirk Berwald. From the drone. As the light begins to dim, you'll be able to see the glowing of the brake discs at the front, or perhaps at all 4 wheels if we brake hard enough. You can see how tricky that double left-hander can be. That corner just goes on forever. This is 19. Brake lights flashing. It certainly looked like something maybe about to happen from either of these 2 groups of cars. Anthony DiCarlo trying to keep Lance Cawley behind. I take that back. Car 173 is Cyril Choksi. Here's a move down the inside. Choksi on DiCarlo. There's that glow in the midst of the wheel where the brake discs live at extremely high temperatures, I might add. Brembo brakes and Pirelli tires on all of the cars. As I mentioned, they are all essentially identical. It's all down to the drivers. Getting darker by the minute. There are light standers that have been brought in and set around the racetrack to assist the drivers with visibility at certain points. But this is going to be very much a night race. This and the race to follow for the Trofeo Pirelli and Coppa Shell class. Up come the revs as they swing onto the backstretch. I've always thought that road racing needs to make the drivers and spectators feel like they're actually going somewhere. Le Mans, for example, scene of the great 24-hour race, is a terrific example of that. You go from the bright lights of the pit area and the stadium sections out into the darkness of the Mulsanne. And you get a bit of that here at Circuit of the Americas. The grandstands fall away, and you go out to turn 11, and you really are on your own, it seems. Still DiCarlo and Choxy. Nose to tail. This is a very difficult track to pass on, it must be said. A big momentum track. The heavy braking areas are up at turn 1 and out at turn 11. Well, turn 12 qualifies as well, but you need to be right up alongside somebody in order to beat them on the brakes, as it were, like Cyril Choxy just did with Anthony DiCarlo, who now has his mirrors full of another competitor, Dave Schmidt. Beautiful rhythm section. Unmistakably Circuit of the Americas. That paint along the runoff areas. Set in the Texas prairie just outside of Austin. Got by DiCarlo, Choxy has taken off, opened up a gap. There's Lisa Clark in that Gulf livery, and it will always be thus described. Taking her own line through turn number 11. Top gear, and then on the dampers. No more shadows on the racetrack. The glare of the headlights tells you it's getting dark. Brakes glowing. As Mr. Watt hums serenely along on the lead. His best this year thus far has been third in the first of 2 races at Road Atlanta. He's coached by Andy Lally, one of America's most successful sports car racers, and a road course specialist in the NASCAR ranks. From the enclave of racing drivers in my hometown of Atlanta, Georgia, we have a bunch, and they are all good. There's Christopher Aiken in third. For Ferrari of Houston, whose cars are prepared by Risi Competizione. Giuseppe Risi owns Ferrari of Houston, and he has been racing as a car owner for decades. Been to Le Mans many, many times. Has a room full of trophies. great representative of the sport. He loves it and he lives it. He and Ferrari have done wonderful things together. Just over halfway through this 30-minute race. Good bit of passing mid-pack, but nothing up front. As Mike Watt looks to improve on his best performance of the season. He is 7th in points coming in. Justin Wetherell behind him as that 15-second penalty for jumping the start coming his way. So he may drop back a bit in the final standings. John Lennon for Ferrari of San Francisco. That's kind of an interesting story. Early in the year, he was driving a yellow race car, and I couldn't understand why the track announcers didn't refer to him as John Lennon in the yellow submarine, but nobody did. Up the hill they go. I must say Michael Kreckle is doing a great job of holding off Lennon. Oops. George Zachary for Ferrari of Silicon Valley and Redwood City, California has pulled off as he got a, well, it looks like he may try to regain the racetrack, but you have to be very careful while you do that. Obey the instructions of the turn marshals in terms of getting a clear track. Back to the battle. Kreckle and Lennon. Lennon looked up the inside, showed him the nose, as the drivers say. Maybe he didn't intend to try the pass right there, but he wanted Kreckle to know, I'm right here. Putting on pressure. Perhaps hoping to force a mistake. Just open the door a little bit. Well, what have we here? Cyril Choksi and Lance Cawley. Battle for 8th. I believe Choksi has completed the pass. He's in the darker car. And it won't be reflected on timing and scoring until they reach start finish. So another place for Cyril Choksi as he makes his way forward. Ferrari of Denver driver. Here's another look at the pass. Oh, plenty of room. Wow, Cawley wanted a very wide entry to turn 11, and Choksi said, thank you very much. I'll just slide right up the inside, try to keep my revs up, hold my speed, come out the other end with you in my rear view mirrors. Or in the case of the 488 Challenge Evo, the rear view camera. There's no traditional rear view mirror in these cars. Side mirrors, yes. But not the one you used to hang your fuzzy dice on. Another great visual effect as the light continues to diminish, the popping of flames from the exhausts. Got a car without headlights. That's not a good thing. John Visca making his series debut. Oklahoman. So this is as close to a home race as he'll get. And of course, tomorrow he gets another bite at the apple. 2 races on every Ferrari Challenge weekend. And lots of track time. And lots of things for the whole family of these drivers to do. Now with more on John Visca, here's Heather. Well, I'm sorry, we'll hold that thought. Visca making his way around, doesn't seem to be impeded by the visibility issue. He's got Lisa Clark all over him. The television cameras make it seem lighter than it really is, so I'm not kidding when I say Visca may not be able to see as well as he would like. Now let's get down to Heather.
And speaking to him earlier today, he told me that he used to be one of the guys on the sidelines just watching and waiting to get into this type of a series. So his friend, during a Christmas party, actually got him in touch with the right people. 2 weeks later, he had a car. But when I spoke to him earlier, he was just delighted to be here. He is so ecstatic about getting the opportunity to drive and race in the Ferrari Challenge. This is his first time behind the seat there. And he's a family man. His wife is here with him this weekend. Her name is Dale, and it's her 50th birthday, so they're celebrating together. And their 2 sons, Clay and Ross, they're actually attending a family wedding. So right now, they might be tuning in on their cell phones at the church, which I found kind of interesting for him, but he's just so proud to be out here and represent his family and just have a good time. But again, he had an eye for red cars growing up, and now he's getting the opportunity to make that dream come true.
Well, that's what the Ferrari Challenge is all about. The opportunity to get on the track, to become a member of the Ferrari racing family, to go through the Corso Piloti, the driver training courses that the Ferrari factory offers. Oh, there's a scrum. Looks like Visca coming under fire. Somewhere his wife and his sons perhaps are cheering him on. If the sons are at the wedding right now, they better not cheer too loudly. But it's not just about the drivers. There's great hospitality on these weekends. There are spa treatments. There's so much that goes on in the Ferrari Challenge family on these weekends. Well, Visca right there, doing some attacking of his own. Cars bunch up down in turn 16. And then apply as much throttle as you dare. This is slightly downhill, slightly off camber, meaning the corner wants to throw the cars to the driver's left. But these Pirelli tires grip phenomenally well, and they are fully up to temperature right now. So use them before you lose them, boys and girls. Coming up on 6 minutes remaining. What has been an incident-free race to this point, which is always good to see. In fact, the drivers were coached in their driver meeting with race director Todd Snyder earlier today and told the goals of the Ferrari Challenge race are safety, green flag running, enjoyment, and mutual respect among the drivers. And I think we've seen that demonstrated here. Of course, the race isn't over yet. Just love those accent lights along the door rims and the rear windows of these cars. Each class, Trofeo Pirelli, Trofeo Pirelli Am, Coppa Shell, and Coppa Shell Am, have their own distinctive color of the visor at the top of the windshield. You can see there, it's a black visor. Well, rather than putting a black light out there on these cars, they are blue. We'll see red and yellow and so on in the race to come. And you see the way the gap has expanded. Kirk Berwald being challenged by John Lennon. Less than 4.5 minutes to go. 2 laps perhaps, all depending on where race leader Michael Watt is, whether he crosses the line before we run out of time. Well, Berwald, the yellow car, got a little bit wide. Lennon closes rapidly. Turn 10, over a brow. It's essentially a blind corner, so the driver can't pick up the apex of the corner until he's almost on it. So he has to have a visual cue to help him line up the car as he enters the corner going up the hill before he can see where he wants to be on the apex, which is the midpoint of the corner. You're no longer coming in, you're going out, and you have work to do. A shade over 0.8 of a second. Well, I don't need to tell you what the gap is. You can see it for yourself. 3 minutes to go. Watt, Wetherill, who has that penalty, 15 seconds hanging over his head, won't be enough for him to lose second place, I don't think. Not at this point anyway. To Christopher Aiken, and then Berwald and Lennon, the battle you're watching. Kreckle, Coleman, Choxey, Cawley, DeCarlo, Schmidt, Visca, Clark, Bernier, Roof, Langberg, Bildman, Mendoza, Musial, Zachary Whittle, and Roy Carroll did not start the race. His car was too damaged to continue after an accident in qualifying. Charles Whittle is in the pit. Not sure what's going on there, but whoa, big slide. And suddenly we've got cars spinning everywhere. That's number 132, Jan Bernier. Did he lose a position? I think he might have. But you also saw a huge lurch off of turn 20. I didn't catch the car number. But that tells you something about how hard these drivers are pressing. Berwald and Lennon still at it. Oh, Lennon is right there. And it may not look it, but it's almost fully dark here in Texas. With coming up on 1 minute to go in the race. And the race has been all Michael Watt. Started from pole position, gapped the field just enough, and then does what great racers do, maintains it. We expect the white flag next time by. Justin Wetherill is there, but he has that penalty coming. White flag waves. As Michael Watt passes through turn 1 and heads downhill. Or will he attempt the pass on a lapped car? Yes, he does, and he makes it stick. Justin Wetherill will attempt that pass as Watt pulls away. Last time around, to a potential first victory of the season for Michael Watt. Through turn 11 one final time. Meanwhile, back to the Berwald-Lennon tango. Oh, Lennon dives down the inside. Oh, and loses it. Around he goes. Oh. Just stepped over that line, trying to make a pass happen. And the car just wouldn't let him do it. Well, these closing laps have certainly been full of action. There, the unmistakable livery of Michael Watt goes through turns 17 and 18, here in 19. One more corner, and the checkered flag awaits. Michael Watt, with Justin Wetherill just behind. His 15-second penalty for jumping the start will not dislodge him from second place. And it is done. Unofficially, Christopher Aitken for Ferrari of Houston is third. Kirk Berwald, a hard-earned fourth. We'll have to see where John Lennon winds up after that spin as he attempted to get by Berwald on the last lap. There is Kirk Berwald. Whoa, another wide exit from turn 20. But it's time for the cool down lap and then head for the pits. And tonight, as at every Ferrari Challenge North America weekend, there will be a party. In this case, including fireworks. Should be something to see. And then tomorrow, we'll do it all again with qualifying and more racing here at Circuit of the Americas. Well, in fact, John Lennon did lose a spot. Todd Coleman got by to take fifth spot off of him. Thank you very much. Then Lennon, Choxy, Kreckle, Cawley, and Anthony DiCarlo, the top 10. John Viskup comes home 12th in his first series start. Last shreds of the sunset disappearing from the western sky. In a moment, we'll take a look at some of the highlights of this race. In fact, let's do that right now. A nice, well-organized start. Well, in fact, unless your name is Justin Wetherill, who was dinged for a jump start, he was off to the far left as they made their way through turn 1. Great battles started early on. Michael Kreckle, John Lennon. Then as the darkness closed in on the racetrack, Justin Wetherill learned that he had been assessed a 15-second penalty for jumping the start. This kind of nose-to-tail action took place throughout. And at this point, on the final lap, I guess John Lennon just couldn't help himself, tried to make something happen, spun for his efforts, and lost a position. But up front, there was no stopping Michael Watt, who picks up his first victory of the year and a healthy dose of championship points. As the field makes its way down onto pit road, here's a look at the results. Watt over Wetherill. Aiken remains third. Berwald, Coleman, and Lennon in 4, 5, and 6. Cyril Choksi, Michael Kreckle, Lance Cawley, and Anthony DiCarlo, the top 10. '11th through 20th, David Schmidt, John Viskup, whom we talked about, Bubba Roof, Lisa Clark in 14th position, Jan Bernier, Neil Landberg, Eileen Bildman, Jesus Mendoza, Dave Musial Jr., or 2.0, and George Zachary, Charles Whittall, and Roy Carroll. I think it's fair to say did not see a moment of this race, which is unfortunate because they practiced and they attempted to qualify, and hopefully we'll be seeing them again tomorrow. So in the championship, in the Coppa Shell Am category, Justin Wetherill remains the points leader by 28 over Dave Musial 2.0. Christopher Aiken right there. And look at these gaps. 4 points to Aiken, 5 points to Watt, and so on. 9 points to Coleman, 3 points to Lennon. These gaps are fantastic, and we still have a lot of racing to go in this 27th season of Ferrari Challenge North America. So we thank you for joining us for this first race of the weekend. We hope we'll be able to entertain you the rest of the way with another race coming up shortly. And then tomorrow on Sunday, we'll wrap things up with more qualifying and more racing from the incredible Circuit of the Americas in Austin, Texas. Until then, for Heather DeBow, I'm Bob Varsha. See you again soon.